I want to bring in NBC's Yamiche Alcindor, who's been digging into this. Carol Leonnig is an investigative reporter for The Washington Post. And Charlie Dent is a former Republican congressman from Pennsylvania and executive director of the Aspen Institute Congressional Program. Good to see all of you here. So, Yamiche, what is the latest? Do workers even have any clear idea of what they're being asked?
Well, Chris, the latest really is that the clock is ticking for 2.3 million federal workers. Most of them are being asked to respond to this email that went out on Saturday. The deadline is 11:59 p.m. Workers are being asked to respond and provide 5 bullet points to what their accomplishments have been for the last week. That being said, just now in the Oval Office, the president is literally answering questions as we talk right now. The president said he wanted to see this because he was thinking that people aren't working hard enough and that federal workers aren't showing up to work. That being said, we have to put up for folks sort of what's playing out at the agencies, because it's very interesting how all of this going out. There's a sort of power struggle happening. We have some departments and agencies that have told their employees to pause or not respond to the email. That's the FBI, places like the State Department, the National Institutes of Health, the Defense Department, the National Security Agency, the Department of Justice. We have other agencies that are asking employees to respond by the email to the email by today's deadline. That's Health and Human Services, as well as the Department of Transportation. And then we have some departments that are saying, hold on, wait, we need more guidance, and we'll give you more guidance before that 11:59 p.m. deadline, and that's the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Also, we should kind of back up and remember how we got here. President Trump on Saturday posted online saying this: Elon is doing a great job, but I would like to see him get more aggressive. Remember, we have a country to save, but ultimately to make greater than ever before, MAGA. And again, I have to remind folks that the president is literally in the Oval Office right now taking questions, and he is continuing to praise Elon Musk and also saying that this email is part of his own push to eliminate waste and fraud and abuse. Though I should tell you, Chris, I talked to a number of federal employees who say that they're feeling intimidated and feeling that this is in some ways harassment to them. That being said, this is all sort of still playing out as we're talking. Chris?
All right, keep us posted if we get anything more out of that. Yamiche, I know we can come back to you. But, Carol, I mean, look, there are a lot of potential red flags here, from concerns about putting classified information out there to whether this is even legal. What's your reporting on this?
I feel like all weekend, all we did was chase this bouncing ball, which changed so much. It was such a chaotic kind of moment for the federal government. So keep in mind, people start getting these email of 2.3 million federal employees. They start getting it around 4:45 on Saturday. They start immediately asking, is this something I have to reply to? Especially people who do jobs that are sensitive and classified, and spelling out what they do, just saying what they do, could be, violating classified laws about protecting this information. So agents at the Secret Service, for example, asked their bosses, am I supposed to reply to this? And the Secret Service came up with a very quick response. Here's your form letter. You can just say that you completed 100% of your mission last week. End of story. Kash Patel at the FBI, by about 8 o'clock at night on Saturday, had said, FBI agents, your performance will be reviewed by me in the office of the director, and you do not need to reply to this. Now, of course, keep in mind, the Secret Service is part of the Department of Homeland Security. So they were responding. And by Sunday, the Department of Homeland Security was saying, guess what? All of our components, we will handle this. Don't respond. Same thing at the Department of Justice. Finally, this morning, the Department of Justice issued a blanket all-staff email saying you do not have to respond to this. It's been a seesaw in terms of some agencies, even within the larger cabinet-level departments, responding before their cabinet-level individuals gave guidance. But, some parts about this, Chris, to very senior-level managers feels very performative. Elon Musk trying to do something more aggressive, as Donald Trump requested. But is anyone actually going to read 2 million emails saying, here's my 5 top hit list of the things that I did last week? And do they understand whether or not that is in accordance with their performance reviews? And if that is, for an employee, an actual measure of their success? This raised this big question. Is this just a poke in the belly and an attempt to look tough, but actually just harass and harangue?
Well, clearly, Congressman, a message is trying to be sent, right? Do you think it's purely performative? And if it is, what does that say about the treatment of people who are worried about their jobs, who are worried about their livelihoods, who are worried about years of service where they may have accumulated a pension? I could go on. What do you make of this?
Well, I do think this is.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, Congressman.
I do think this is largely performative, and it's certainly haphazard. It seems also that they're not sure who actually works in the executive branch. I read in one report that people who work at the Library of Congress were asked to respond. Of course, Congress is not subject to the executive branch in this matter. So it just strikes me that this is a terrible overreach. They are treating federal employees horribly. I mean, there is a performance review process. There is if the federal government or the executive branch wants to engage in a reduction in force effort, there are ways to do that. This is not the way to do it. They are indiscriminate, they're sloppy, they're haphazard, and as was just pointed out, who's going to read 2.3 million emails? And of course, nobody. So, and of course, what they've done is they've pitted Elon Musk now against the very cabinet and agency heads with whom they're supposed to be cooperating with at DOJ. So I just can't imagine that there's anything serious about this effort, but it is striking fear into the hearts of all these federal employees who know they can just be fired on a whim these days.
Yeah, Carol, and let's talk about the people who are pushing back. Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, not exactly opponents of the president. So you do have to wonder if at some point this is going to be a test of who President Trump is going to ultimately support.
Absolutely. And, I don't think it's reached, the point where swords are drawn between Elon Musk and cabinet members. But some of these cabinet members received themselves this email. Can you imagine being the head, presidentially appointed and Senate confirmed cabinet secretary and being asked to give your top 5 for last week? Can you imagine being an Article 3 judge? To the congressman's point, they also received these emails. The judiciary and the legislature are different, separate, unique branches of government, and some of the highest levels of those entities were asked to justify sort of their existence. Musk not coordinating clearly with the administrative branch of the executive creates a kind of a pell-mell quality here, and employees are left wondering who is the boss. Obviously, Kash Patel at the FBI said, I am. Tulsi Gabbard said at the CIA, I am. And that doesn't diminish how stressful and worrisome this has become for federal employees who are wondering, should I stay here for the next series of emails that I get that demand that I do something, or else I'll be treated as if I'm resigning?
Yeah, the question becomes, is this worth it? Congressman, this weekend, we saw the president respond to some of the frustration over the email with a SpongeBob meme talking about people crying about Trump and crying about Elon. Talk about President Trump and Elon Musk and whether or not you think that there is a danger here politically, that the takeaway for a lot of people might be, yeah, we wanted you to make government more efficient. We wanted you to save money, but not this way.
Well, I do think much of the American public would probably welcome a reduction in force of the federal government. There might not be a whole lot of sympathy for federal employees writ large. However, when you start talking about specific federal employees, the people who work the national parks in Idaho, for example, or people working at the CDC in Atlanta dealing with, life-saving and life-enhancing therapies, all of a sudden you put a face on these people, then support for the reduction in force becomes a lot less. And of course, the way this has been done has been atrocious. To treat people like this, to tell them that they're gone by 3 o'clock today, and that there's no severance, there's no process to deal with any of this. I mean, just to dismantle an agency like USAID without a vote of the Congress, they just shut it down, and there's an incoherence to it all. Trump announces that he wants to occupy Gaza a week after they dismantle USAID. Well, you would need a battalion of USAID workers in order to, to manage the situation in Gaza, plus the U.S. Army, for that matter. But I mean, there's this incoherence. And so I think this is really turning off so many people throughout the country, even though a reduction in force, has some appeal on a broad level.